Hello everybody and welcome back to Chess 24. This is round number 2 of the Bilbao Masters and the European Club Cup. I'm with Jan Gustafsson. The games are all still in play. They're just getting out of the opening phase right about now. And it looks as though Jan, Mr. Paco Vallejo, our friend and contributor, he looks like he might have got his lines mixed up. It doesn't look great for him, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's getting out of the opening all that well. I spoke about this earlier. After e3, queen a5, he went for rook c1. It's all about small subtleties in these lines. Rook c1 is the right move if h6 and bishop h4 is not included. But since it is, knight to d2 or queen to d4, I believe, are more tempting choices here. He went rook c1, and after knight to e4, he might be finding himself in some trouble already. He couldn't find anything better than bishop e2. We also mentioned queen takes d5. Once again, critical without h6, bishop h4. Doesn't work so well here. So he went bishop e2. But now black can just take on c3 if he so fancies. Knight takes, you have to take back. B takes c, bishop takes c3. It looks like white has to go king to f1. If he played knight d2, just knight takes c5. And white looks busted already. Knight e4 is a threat, exploiting the pin. So you can't do that. You would have to play king f1. But this doesn't look like a nice position to have against Vishy Anand out of the opening. Knight takes c5, let's say. Your king is misplaced. You're a pawn down at the moment, so you probably have to take on d5. When black can go bishop e6 with tempo. And after queen d6, threatening checkmate. But there is g5. And if black had to go, white had to go bishop g3, for example, knight e4 looks like a very good move. I think Paco's in trouble here.
Yeah, it looks like it's all gone a bit Pete Tong for Paco. He's mixed up his lines and it's really tough, especially there are a lot of openings where you can, but for me, the Rogozin, these systems, I really get confused very quickly.
That's what we mentioned in the beginning. It is very concrete, that word again, and you really have to get your move order straight, or you can end up in trouble with both sides very quickly, which could be what's happening here. Not happy with Vallejo's position, and Anand fans can be very happy that for the second game in a row, Vishy Anand emerges with a very good position out of the opening.
What about in the other game, Aronian Ponomariov? We last saw it after bishop d7, move 12, and he did play the move queen d2, connecting the rooks. But we
did not play the move I wanted him to play h5, clarifying the structure on the king side. He went for knight c7, which is preparing b5, keeping an eye on d5. You could see a scenario if white passed enough where black gets in b5, takes. You put the knight on this d5 square and you're doing fine. It does look a little slow though. Aronian went a4. I like this move. Stopping b5.
Well,
he didn't really stop it because black played it, but now it's a very different story because b5 is answered by a takes b, opening the a file for this rook, targeting a7, c takes b. He just went b3, maintaining control over this d5 square, which is very important. And I like white's position here. Black has to do something about this pawn, so he probably has to play a6. Then this knight is tied to the defense of the pawn. You just play a natural move, I don't know, rook fc1, trying to occupy this line as well. It looks like black is very cramped and white has much easier play. You could think about going d5 and then knight d4, knight c6. Like it for Aronian, gotta tell you.
Yeah, I agree. I think Aronian's got a fantastic position here, and it just goes to show, you know, this plan that Ponomariov had of, he had these random moves that didn't really fit together. It was a bit like one of Picasso's worst works. Yeah, it was all over the place. Because I've been to the Picasso Museum in Malaga, which is, you know, not far away. I don't know if you've ever been.
I've been to Malaga. Didn't go to the Picasso Museum.
Let me tell you a bit about Picasso.
Go ahead, sir.
I like a lot of his stuff. I actually do like a lot of it, but a lot of it is really disappointing. All over the place, doesn't mean anything. Bit like Ponomariov's pieces in this game, didn't like it. Bit like a bad Picasso.
Yeah, and that's the thing also at this level, without drawing conclusions too early, that kind of freestyling in the opening, you can get away with against slightly weaker opponents, but guys like Aronian, they're very happy to freestyle with you, and they're very good at it too. So yeah, things have gone a little wrong for Ponomariov here. I still like the move h5 much better. This a4, b5 is very committal, because now positionally, really, yeah, you're stuck with this loose a-pawn, and white controls the center. I quite like white's position.
Yeah, I agree.
By the way, we have a tweet from Damien Domke, just to clarify. The clip we played in the break with Peter Svidler, we produced on Friday when Peter Svidler was here, but he's left now because he's playing in Bilbao. He's playing in the Euro Club Cup. So thanks for the compliment. We'll pass it on. He says, "Dear Peter, I really, really like your Grunfeld stuff. Could you maybe recommend a good book for studying it? Why do you need a book when you have the Peter Svidler Grunfeld video series?" But we will pass on the compliment. Thanks a lot. He's not with us here today. He's in Bilbao. I think not playing today, but representing his team from St. Petersburg.
And just to elaborate on what Jan said, the series, which is a 12-hour series on the Grunfeld, on chess24.com, become a premium member. Very simple, sign up, become a premium member, and you can watch his video amongst, well, more than just Fiddler series. Obviously, that's an amazing one. Robin van Kampen's got an amazing King's Indian series. Jan's got a Queen C2 Nimzo series coming out, etc., etc. Just become a premium member and you can watch them all. Oh my goodness, what is going on there? Hello.
We had a tweet earlier by Tarjei Svensson urging us to go to Topalov Morozevich, which is, in case you're confused, this is the European Club Cup. There's 2 games in the Masters, which we've just looked at. It's Anand with black against Vallejo and Aronian with white against Ponomariov. But in the Euro Club Cup, we have a lot of marquee matchups. The one on the top board is Sokar, Azerbaijan, one of the top favorites whom Topalov is playing for, against SHSM from Moscow, one of the top Russian teams, where Morozevich is employed. And they have this position on the board. What is going on and why? Let's move back a little bit. We've seen this position after knight e4. I like g4, but knight e4 also a very sensible move. Morozevich played bishop e5, which is very interesting. He's stopping g4, which was a major idea for white because now it runs into knight f4. Can't do that. Instead, Topalov never has to be asked twice to push his pawns up the board, really. Went for f4, probably expecting bishop d4 check, king h2, which looks like normal play. Instead, Morozevich went for f5, setting the board on fire. What's going on here?
Well, I think the point is you have to take, because if you move the knight...
Well, knight g5 looks tempting as well.
No,
Then there is a little trick, knight
yeah.
f4 maybe.
Yeah.
Once again, with complications, takes, knight e6.
Bishop
Winning
e3.
the exchange, but black should have some compensation here.
Whew. More than
Dark
enough
squares.
compensation.
I
Dark
agree.
squares.
So we went f takes e5, which looks natural. F takes e4. Rook takes, queen takes. And another little Zwischenzug, the move e6. If you were to move the bishop, bishop takes e4, knight takes e5. As much as I love my bishops, black is very active here with these knights, ready to jump into g3, f4, ready to double on the f-file, or just go rook e8. White is not fully developed yet, so this would be fine for black. Topalov instead went for the move e6, which probably you can't leave this pawn alive. Now it's a very different story. If you go knight e5, bishop takes e4, with this dude on the board, you just can't do it. So I'm expecting Morozevich to take on d3, and after e takes d7, you don't want to leave this pawn alive either, especially combined with the bishop g5. He would probably try to get rid of it ASAP, knight f6. And surprisingly, it could quiet down quite a bit. Both sides get rid of the enemy's passes. We have a bit of a normal position. Equal pawns. White is slightly better in my opinion, because this pawn is a little weak, but nothing all that special. Queen g7, let's say. We have close to an equal normal position.
Wow. So it looks like that one might actually die down. Interesting. Anything else? What about the first board of that match?
That was your favorite opening, the Petrov with his usual subtleties.
Yeah.
I have this instinct to say subtleties, because I know there's a B in there.
Right.
I know you're not supposed to say it, but it does come
Okay, let me... What's the guy, very famous chess grandmaster, Rainer, German guy?
Polzin?
No.
Rainer? Buhmann?
No, begins with a K.
Knack?
Right.
What about it?
Oh, you say knuck?
Yeah.
I thought you said nuck. Oh, you pronounce the K.
Yeah, in
Oh,
German you say knack.
That defeats the whole point of I thought it was nuck. Oh, so just imagine that's the same in subtle. Silent B, silent K. Do you have silent letters in German?
No.
You don't even
We don't roll like that. No, we have a lot of silent H's.
Ah.
I think. Maybe I just made it up. It's my native language, so I have no idea about the rules. I'm capable of pronouncing those words somehow. Still, Mamedyarov, Petrov is not his native language, but he's played it today, and we have a very sharp position on the board, which once again should be right in his ballpark. He decided to castle kingside after all, having gone h6, which of course gives white a hook for future attacks, but black maintained this bishop, which is quite well placed on this diagonal. Rook g1, more subtleties. He wants to go g4 without being pinned by bishop e4. Rook e8, bishop e2, one more preparatory move, so bishop e4 doesn't attack the knight. Now stop preparing already and go g4. Here we go. g4, d5. That's the position on the board. h4 looks like that. Normal follow-up. If you go g5, I think just h5, keeping the position closed. So in an ideal world, white wants to build his attack by going h4, h5, and then g5, which would have a lot more impact. Not sure if he's in time. After h4, can black do anything to stop my plan?
Well, it's important to point out what happens after bishop takes knight, and bishop takes h4.
Nah, you can't do that.
I know
g5.
you can't do it g5, but well, maybe you can do it.
It doesn't look right.
It doesn't
now you
feel
don't have h5 anymore,
Sure.
and at the price of a pawn, you've speeded up the white attack.
No, but it's a line you always have to
Absolutely.
look at. But I like h4, you're right. Yeah, and now finding a move with black is kind of tricky.
Yeah, because if black plays normally, let's say a6, h5, b5, I think he's late to the party.
He's very late.
g5, and that's one of the big pluses of playing this line. You have extra shelter for your king. You have this pawn on c3 and the pawn on c2, both covering some squares. So even though Mr. Computer always says black is fine here, in practice it has been very tough to play these positions with black, and white has won quite some games here.
Yeah,
We'll see what happens, but at the moment
that.
I like Nepomniachtchi's position.
Mm-hmm.
Shiba is asking, is this a Ponzi scheme by Vallejo? Nah, I'm pretty sure it's not.
Nothing corrupt about this.
What else we got? We got Mr. Anish Giri enjoying his positional advantage. We've seen queen to c8. He went knight f3. Bit surprised he doesn't go to b3 to clamp down on the queen side. Looks more natural to me. But knight f3 also logical enough, hitting this e5 pawn. Now knight h5. This must be a trick you're trying to get in a lot, right? Knight to g3.
Oh, I love getting in that trick.
Knight e5, knight g3. All of a sudden, black wins an exchange.
Love it.
However, Anish Giri, number 10 in the world on the live rating list, did spot that trick, went king to h2. It's not clear if black has achieved anything. Could think about knight f4, but then white just takes it off. I think white is still better here. Knight g5, I like this move. If you clarify the situation, let's say bishop e7, just knight f3 back. This is still a dream scenario for white, controlling these light squares. A lot of potentially weak black pawns to attack. This knight very well placed. White is seriously better here. Even in an ending, this might be the best black has. Maybe black has to go for this. But an ending like this looks very unpleasant for me. To me, for black. Because all these pawns could really be weak. It might be holdable, but it does look unpleasant.
Yeah.
In the long run, you're dreaming of, or I'd dream of putting my king on c4. Be a nice square. I have modest dreams.
You get excited about these kind of dreams, don't you?
Yeah, it's because I'm a very strong player.
I don't dream. I don't get excited about putting my.
You
king
dream
on
big,
c4.
right? You dream of knight d4,
Yeah.
knight
Yes.
takes c6, knight takes
That's
e7
right.
check, knight takes c8.
You
rook
don't.
up.
You don't win a game of chess by moving your king.
You do sometimes.
I do.
You don't win a game of chess if you can't move your king anymore, especially if it's in check.
All right. What other games can we check
There's
out?
a lot of strong games. Let's Just
Wang
moving
Hao
down the
Potkin,
list,
yeah.
Wang Hao Potkin, I think this is a very low board for that top match,
The
which
bottom
goes
board.
to show how strong these teams are.
The bottom board.
Potkin, former European individual world champion. Wang Hao,
Individual world champion?
European individual
World champion.
world champion of the universe. That's what I meant to say. Apologies. Individual European champion.
European individual champion.
No. Yeah, that too. Anyway, he won some stuff. And he's even more accomplished as a coach than as a player. Has been working with a lot of the players on the Russian national team. Very respected theoretician. Can
Is
play
he the
very
most
well as well.
ginger person in chess?
Paco calls him the red-haired world champion because he's convinced he's the strongest ginger player.
He might be the strongest ginger player in chess. He is seriously ginger.
He's
His
seriously
beard
strong
is
as well.
ginger. His hair is ginger. Not that means anything, but it's just nice to see a
Not
redhead.
sure where you're going with this.
It's nice to see a redhead. I'm a big fan of redheads. Mostly of the female type, but
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying. I can't think of any really red... Simon Williams.
That's right.
His name is Ginger GM.
He has a website, Ginger GM, or used to.
Yeah, he still does. Have a look at that. He's playing in this tournament, I think.
Right. Anyway, Wang Hao, 2700 player from China, very enterprising player, playing against Potkin, super strong theoretician, very strong player as well, on the bottom board of this match.
Unbelievable.
Serious tournament, this Euro Club Cup. I used to play on the bottom board for Baden-Baden. Would sit out whenever we played someone serious. The good old days. Bishop d3, queen a5. We have another one of these structures which we just saw in the Grudchev game against Giri, with knight takes c6. Here it's a bit different. D takes c6. White pieces coordinate slightly less fluently, less naturally than in the Giri game. Queen on f3 goes to g3, castles, bishop d3. Potkin is trying to make something happen with queen a5. Not sure if you give that pawn by just castling.
Yeah, you can't take that.
You don't want to take that,
no,
right?
you can't take it.
Looks very dangerous. e5. Let's say knight d7. Bishop h6 is still queen takes e5.
Bishop f4.
Even bishop f4 looks very dangerous for black. White just brings his rooks into the game.
Love these positions
Goes
with
after the
white.
king.
It's so easy to play.
Yeah, this
Beautiful.
looks dangerous. I don't think he would do that.
No,
Probably
he's not.
after castles.
He's
would
gonna
just
go
e5
e5, yeah.
and stabilize.
Stabilization. Yeah.
With everything to play for still. Maybe you play some subtle move like bishop h6, hoping for knight e8. Now you go to d2 to eliminate those things. Slightly prefer white because it looks like we might be grabbing the two bishops, but it's nothing decided yet. Big match in round 2 today. Let's check in for 1 second with your friend Peter Robertson, playing against none other than the fabulous Fabiano Caruana, who is coming off a decent tournament in St. Louis, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he had what is for me the best performance of all time in a tournament. 8.5 out of 10.
Started with 7 out of 7.
7 out of 7. Could have won game 8. Could have won game 9. Really, game 10. Okay, it was a draw. And just played fabulous chess against the world's best. So it was just amazing to see that. He's playing against Peter, who is, a tricky kind of guy. 2400, young. He's got this position on the board. Can he just whip off the pawn on d5?
That's what I was thinking about. It runs into a little trick. Knight takes f5.
Yeah.
You have to go rook takes. And here either rook takes d5 or bishop takes e4.
So if rook takes
Let's show
d5.
this. Takes bishop e4.
Oh, then you've got rook c5.
Black has rook c5,
Yeah.
attacking the queen. And if the queen gives a check on b3, you block both the check and the attack from the bishop on a8 by going d5. Nice little multi-purpose move.
Black's probably okay.
Black is okay. White can probably win back material
Yeah.
by going bishop e3.
But then e6.
You can just go e6.
No, this is fine.
Takes.
No, this is
for black.
fine for black. Yeah.
So after rook takes f5, I would expect Fabiano Caruana to take on e4.
Yeah, but
Takes, queen takes.
Knight c6 and
Knight c6.
black is fine here.
No, I'll always take white in these positions. Knight c3.
But
Long run, black king always turns out to be weak. I'm not saying he has a serious plus, but I'd take white.
Yeah, maybe white's slightly for preference, but no big problems for Peter Robertson, which is great news for him. Black against the world, number 2 in live. So good.
Yeah, but he has some calculating to do. The position on the board is this one. He has to figure out if he can take on d5, remaining unscathed. Is that a word?
It's a very good word. We got a tweet from Juan Pitica to you, Jan.
What's he saying?
Good analysis and commentaries, guys. Thank you. Jan, I just watched your series on the 1D4 repertoire series that you did. So Juan Pitica must be a premium member. Congratulations. Who is a good Nimzo or semi-Slav player to follow?
It's an interesting question. From the white side, it's very hard to say. Most of the top guys are involved in that. For me, the guys I would follow most with white have always been Kramnik and Aronian in recent times, because they are kind of more pure 1d4 players. They have a very thought out 1d4 repertoire. So I was always following closely what they're doing against the Nimzo or the semi-Slav. Of course, they don't always go into the Nimzo. I've just finished this follow-up series on the Queen C2 Nimzo as well to give people a little something there. Those are the first names that come to mind. Boris Gelfand, another very strong theoretician in these territories. Vishianan, whenever he goes d4, he certainly has something up his sleeve as well. So, sorry, no big surprises there. The top guys are also the top guys in the opening.
Yep. All right. Good stuff. Let's go back to Bilbao and the Masters.
All of this stuff is in Bilbao, in case we're confusing you. There's 2 tournaments. The Masters, which is our focus, the 2 games, Vallejo against Anand and Aronian against Ponomariov, and the European Club Cup also in Bilbao. We have some action. What happened?
What happened is he managed to escape again.
After castles, after bishop e2, to my surprise, Anand did not take on c3.
Why didn't he take on c3?
That is a surprise. This looked so nice for black. Takes, king f1, knight takes c5. Maybe these positions didn't seem that clear to him. Maybe rightly so. Bishop e6, queen d6. We thought after g5 black was doing very well. Maybe
it's fantastic for black.
Well, some tricky moves here. Maybe knight d4, planning bishop b5 check. Not sure if this works. G takes h, and knight b5. Could get messy. Knight takes e6, knight takes e6. Just to show an idea, rook c3, queen c3, and bishop b5 check. Maybe one of those lines scared Vishianan away. Computer says rook d8 here, bishop b5, and knight to d7. It's good for black, but to go into this from afar, pieces all over the place, you could get scared at the very least.
Maybe. That would
Even
be
a move like a4 here is very interesting. So that could be one reason. He decided after bishop e2 to just castle, which also can't be a bad move. Arguably doesn't punish white as much for his, what we accused Paco of, committing some sins in the opening, mixing up the move orders. Now at least he managed to castle, and I believe now this position has become quite equal. Bishop takes c3. This is a typical thing in these structures. Typical simplification. All of a sudden we have opposite colored bishops. Paco actually had a game, almost this position. I don't think it was this position, but a very similar one against Peralta at the Olympiad, where he went knight d4, queen b5, got an ending where he was slightly better and was a draw in the end. Black does not want to take on c5 here yet, because it runs into bishop e7 with a double attack. But Anand has a nice move, b6, preparing bishop a6, winning the exchange on his part. And now Vallejo has to decide what he wants to do about it.
Let's say he goes c6.
That's one critical line, yes. c6, bishop
Because
a6.
Queen c2 takes, and then takes on d7. You can always queen your pawn. So bishop b5. The question is, maybe you just
queen the
keep
pawn,
it.
you could remain a pawn down.
Yeah.
I mean, here, okay, you have drawing chances, but it's not something you're dreaming of. Playing a position like this is seriously better for black. Knight d4. Let's not blunder everything with knight c6 and keep the bishop somewhere here. Black is better.
Yeah.
But after bishop b5, maybe you have some other options. Knight to e5, keeping this pawn, planning to go queen c7. Very complicated.
Yeah, it can be a bit dangerous, that actually. Yeah.
Not sure who's better and why. This is very concrete. Is there a better word for concrete? I'm getting annoyed of me repeating it. But it is a word, right?
Yeah, it's the best word.
Queen e4 or queen b4. A lot of moves here. You don't want to go bishop g3, releasing control of that d8 square. Here, black is probably winning after queen a4. So Paco is facing a bit of a decision after b6. Does he have any other moves on c6? Not giving away material. I was thinking about queen c2. The point being that after b takes c5, there is this bishop e7, rook e8, bishop takes c5 maneuver, reclaiming the pawn. Probably even this you have to be careful, because bishop a6 followed by rook c8 could very well be trouble. So he has a bit of a decision at his hands. After b6 you can go for c6, which could lead to huge complications, but you gotta calculate it. I think Vallejo has been spending quite some time in the opening. Still under some pressure here, even though it looked to us that after bishop e2, knight takes c3 was very natural and very strong. Now after b6, we will see how the Spanish #1 handles it. Rook fd1 also a move that comes to mind, stepping out of this bishop a6 thing. And if b takes c5, this will be a mistake now because of rook takes d5. Maybe that's the most pragmatic choice. Bishop a6, you just go somewhere with a queen. I don't know where. I don't like it on c2, but it doesn't really have a good square. Let's put it on c2. Knight takes c5. Rook takes. Still gotta be careful with white. Black pieces are very well placed. Not easy for Vallejo still. He's still struggling a little bit to get out of the opening alive, which is not what you want with white, especially against a guy like Vishy Anand, who looks like he's doing very well again today. Another guy who seems to be doing very well, Levan Aronian. Ponomariov, not a good game yesterday, and it seems like he's in trouble again today. Just looking at the position, positionally, his pawn is weak, white controls the center. The black pieces are a bit all over the place, really. Rook on b4 looks a little lonely. I think he's in serious trouble.
Levon just played d5, actually.
Bishop d2 also looked like a very nice move, like targeting this diagonal. Played d5, which is also very natural, restricting a lot of the black pieces, especially this knight, against the pawn structure. d5, c4 doesn't have a lot of hunting grounds. Can't go to e6, can't go to b5. What's this knight gonna do? Looks nice for white.
Yeah,
He still has this knight d4, knight c6 idea. I still believe black should go h5. Just to clarify the situation here, and if white were to go g5, at least all of a sudden your pieces spring to life a little bit with bishop f5, maybe knight e4. I believe Ponomariov, he has to press the panic button slightly and try to complicate things by playing this h5 rather sooner than later. White could just take on h5, maybe.
What
that's the
about
most
just
sensible.
going, I've got an idea.
Okay.
What about g5,
Okie-doke.
bishop f5, g takes f6?
Giving the queen.
Yeah, bishop takes
Could
d3,
be a good idea, yeah, I didn't see that.
throw in a check. Oh, maybe you don't throw
No, you
in.
don't need to.
Okay, take
here.
it.
Yeah, and if black takes, e takes d3.
Oof.
This is massive for white,
This
no
is-
matter what the computer says. Center is solid, you have three pieces who can gang up on the black king and the black weaknesses. Yeah,
I
it's
like
a very
this
good
little
point.
pawn mass e.
This is a very nice chain.
Yeah, it's a good cadena, as
Yeah,
the Spanish
still
say.
keeping the knight on c7 at bay. Now this looks good, so after g5, you can't go bishop f5, you would have to retreat, but
And then
then
knight
white is on
d4.
time, knight to d4. Yeah, this is very unpleasant. f4, f5 is in the cards, knight c6. This is no fun.
No fun, no can do. He played e6, Jan.
After d5,
Yeah.
let's have a look at that. Looks really bad, just knight d4. ED, CD, and I think you're still with the same old problems. Knight is lurking, ready to jump into C6. A6 is weak. No, Ponomariov is in trouble.
Twitter
Real
sphere.
big trouble.
Have we got any tweets?
Mm-hmm.
Clive Water says Fischer had a ginger beard. Sadly, that was the only thing.
Is that true?
Yeah, he did get a bit ginger in his old age. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sadly, that is the only thing we share in common. I think he had the ginger beard around the '92 rematch in.
I remember the beard. I wasn't aware it was ginger.
Yeah, it was. He was ginger actually, as it goes. Damien Dunker, when do you get your last GM norm? It almost happened, right? Kind of. I needed to play Grandmaster in the last round of a tournament in Spain and win, but I didn't get paired against the Grandmaster, which was annoying, and that would have been my last norm. But I'll find a tournament soon. Get there. We'll get there.
We still believe in you.
We have faith.
Not me personally, but the Twitter sphere and like the community.
Anand is doing all right. We've seen that position. I really don't. You're right, Jan. This position for Ruslan.
No, this is terrible. And it's nice to play for white. Especially a guy like Aronian who likes shuffling his pieces around, improving them, fighting against the opponent's pieces. He already has his favorite move, G4, and he's very happy here.
He's a happy man. But he hasn't been finishing people off like
That's right. He hasn't been ruthless as he used to be, like
No.
finding his way towards through to the end of these games. But this position, it's not like he has to find a series of only moves. It's just very pleasant to play, I think. Knight D4, what else could black do? He could close the center with E5.
but then Knight C6 is game over.
Knight C6 looks very strong. You don't even have to. You can go Knight C2, but this looks
but
very good.
take plant another knight on D5 in your own time. Rook FB1. No, I think that's
D6
game.
is weak. Yeah, you can't do that. I agree.
That's game over.
So what's stopping him from going Knight D4? What is he thinking about?
Well, it's only been his move for a couple of minutes. He's going to calculate.
Is he thinking of something
Nah.
like this? No, it also looks just bad.
Take
takes.
it.
If bishop takes, you just snap it off again, I think. A takes B.
Just win a pawn, don't you?
Just pick up this pawn, and you still have the
Two
two bishops and the weakness on D6.
Yeah. Question from Anyander. Do you think Pono was stronger when he was single rather than being married?
Is he married?
He could be
I
married.
know he was dating the same girl. Maybe they did marry.
Maybe
I'm
they
not
got
quite
married.
sure.
I'm not
Possibly.
sure. Does marriage...
There's a lot of jokes going around
Yeah.
about that in the chess world. I don't think it's always proven to be true. Kayakin recently got married as well, I believe.
For the second time, and he's only 23.
Right.
He loves a bit of marriage.
Anand, of course, has been married for a long time.
Yeah, maybe there's some truth to it. I mean, look how strong me and Gusti are. We're not married. No, I mean...
I don't know. I mean, like, there's always a thing. He's been playing a little less. I think he's settled down in Spain. I can't say about his private life what motivates him and what doesn't.
I don't
He's still very strong.
think there's any relationship at all between getting married and your chess strength or your chess form.
Topalov is another guy who was living in Spain who got married. Who's doing pretty well now.
Yeah, exactly. I think it depends. I think a lot actually depends not on marriage but on kids. I think, if you look at Judith, when she had her kids as well, she was in her prime in 2004, 2005, something like that. Her kids, it changes. I think the kids does make things different, but I don't think marriage itself is...
Don't blame the wife, blame the kids, is what you're saying.
Well, then again, look at Vladimir Kramnik.
Look at Vishy Anand.
Look at Vishy Anand. I mean, maybe there's just no correlation at all.
Life is complicated, right?
Is
How
it?
you get motivated and what situation works best for you. I have no idea. Knight D4, Rook to E8 has been played.
Oh, this is on the board, is it? Okay. Yeah, but
Looks
this is just
pretty
game
grim.
over. Rook FB1, black can resign with a clear conscience.
No, that's not true. But he's in serious trouble.
There's nothing worse than playing this position with black in the world.
Literally?
Well, there are probably a few things that are worse, but What do you even do in this? I think your knight on c7's got no moves. Your knight on f6 has got no moves.
You'll end up losing a pawn having to go something like knight b5, but it looks pretty grim to defend a position like that. Well, knight c6 is strong here as well, but even this, I think it's very, very hard to hold together. You're a pawn down, the two bishops, the d6 square. You could, and Ponomariov will, would fight for a long time in a position like that, but I think this is very hard to hold as well. What's going on? Nick K is asking us to go back to Topalov against Morozevich. We will follow suit if we can track it down. Almost there. Here we are.
Wow.
Oh, what's going on here? We've seen this position, e takes d, and we're expecting the move knight f6, followed by picking up this pawn. No such thing happened. Queen f5 was played. What is this, a piece sacrifice? White went g4. Don't have to ask Topalov twice about going g4.
Is there ever a game he's not moved his g-pawn?
There probably is.
Probably a few games, okay.
Queen takes d7. Can you take on h5 is the first question.
Maybe queen takes h3.
Queen h3.
Dangerous.
Looks dangerous. This dude is still alive. Queen is already threatening at least a perpetual. Black rook can join the fiesta. I don't know. I'd be scared. But I get scared very easily.
I wouldn't do this with white. He's not going to do this. He's going to take on d3.
You think he was just bluffing with g4?
Yeah,
now he's going
to
take here. Yeah, I agree. Which leads us to a similar kind of position than the one we mentioned earlier. White is slightly better, bishop f4, because this pawn is a little weakish. The white king is not that weak. Black can't go h5 because g6 is hanging. Knight takes g4, doesn't work now. So yeah, Topalov still has something to work with, and I agree, he should not take on h5, and he will not. Game on the top board of this match of Sokar against SHSM, the Moscow team. We don't know what SHSM stands for, or do we?
No, we don't.
Maybe something with chess school.
I just don't know.
Could be anything. c5 has been played. Mamedyarov trying to make something happen on the queen side. And if white were to follow this plan with h5, maybe isn't time now. c4. Or even more devious, of course, this is computer stuff. Would not think of this myself. Move queen e6.
Beautiful. G5, D4.
D4.
Bang.
Takes, knight takes b3. This is
Beautiful.
nice stuff.
Winning.
A takes b, queen takes b3. Very useful trick to keep an eye out for always with a bishop on this diagonal. And black would be winning. Of course not forced, but queen e6. Maybe he was preparing this with knight a5, c5,
Genius.
and d4. He is a dynamic player, this Shak Mamedyarov. This looks strong. So instead, Nepomniachtchi probably decided he didn't have time to go h5, went for g5 immediately. But that allows black to keep the king side kind of close with h5. Does he want to go g6 here?
I think so. Yeah, I think he does. And after bishop takes g6,
Well, then there's knight e5.
knight e5 is,
Yeah, you
is
can't do
game
that.
over.
Thing after g6, you still want to keep it close. You want to play
Yes.
f6, controlling this e5 square.
Yeah.
If white were able to play queen takes h5, he'd be in pretty good shape, but it does not look like a simple thing to get in.
No.
And black can use the time given to try to start his own attack. Queen a6, d4, b5, c4. I know, very unclear position.
Yeah. Don't know who I prefer and why. Probably prefer black, actually. But
He did play g6, which
Yeah.
is the logical follow-up. Expecting Shak to play f6
Shak?
here.
ah.
That's shaft, right?
Yeah, but I was trying to...
Ah, okay. You were transferring your knowledge from the field of
TV.
TV
1980s
to the field of
TV. Is
top.
it 80s or 70s, actually?
I've never watched the series.
It was okay. It was okay, wasn't it?
Actually, was that the theme song? Wasn't that Flash from Queen you were intonating?
Maybe it was Flash.
Maybe it was Flash.
I don't know
Another
what
series I've never seen.
Yeah.
Flash Gordon approaching.
Yeah. Anyway, Yeah,
I think you're right.
F6.
It was Flash. Flash
think so.
Gordon. I'm going mad. Why am I thinking of Shaft? Now I've got Samuel L. Jackson in my head.
Yeah. I've seen the movie. It's fun.
How
fun
is it?
little
I haven't
movie.
seen the movie actually.
Yeah, it's what you would expect it to be, but I enjoyed it. G6, F6. I don't know, I'd kind of prefer black. It's so hard to open this king side up, and you don't get him queen to h5, which you really need in order to threaten something. Tarjei J. Swenson is happy with us. He says, great show, guys. Thank you, Tarjei. He is in Bilbao, as far as I know, posting some picture. Maybe we can have a look at it.
Can we have a look at the Adams game while we have it load up that picture?
Such a homer.
I'm sorry, there are no decent Germans playing.
Isn't there? Neidich is playing for in the Euro Club Cup. I'm sure there's some other Germans around.
Yeah, but they're not on the top boards.
That is true. Adams, being himself, has solved his problems.
Mickey.
Not in trouble. The c3 and the a5 pawns are just as weak as the d5 and b7 pawns. Égalité, liberté. What else is that? Fraternité. I never paid much attention in French class.
No, neither did I. Yeah, it looks all right for Mickey. Probably be a draw.
Oh, look at this. Tarjei in Bilbao. What is there better to do while you're on the scene with all these great players playing than watching our show?
He's watching us live. Let's have a look.
Beautiful.
Let's have a look. We can see the photo there. Can we get that on the screen?
It is on the screen.
It is on the screen. Right. Wow.
Thanks, Tarjei.
Beautiful.
So bishop g4 here. Yeah, I think black has no problems whatsoever. Bishop takes, knight takes. Let's say knight e2, covering c3. Sneakily hitting this g4 knight. But it just goes back. Equal position.
All right. Any other amazing looking games? Let's go down.
There's an amazing looking game. Vallejo against Anand. Anand playing quickly today. Vallejo, he's in good form, so he goes for principal moves, even though the opening 2 days in a row he had 2 whites, didn't go well, either of them. But he played c6, offering this exchange sacrifice. Bishop to a6. He put his queen on d1 when Anand correctly decided not to take the bait, because after bishop f1, c takes d7. Now you don't have that move bishop to b5, which we saw with the queen on c2. Because here this queen takes d5, which is nasty. Defending the pawn, picking up a pawn, kind of pinning this bishop, and all of a sudden black would be in trouble. So instead Anand went for the move knight c5, which still yields him an exchange, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Rook e1, you can and probably should jump into d3. You will pick up one of these rooks.
So he's going to take on d5.
Most likely, right? There's
Yeah.
some other moves like bishop to e7, trying to eliminate this knight. It's possible. Queen takes d5 is possible, and bishop takes f1. Probably rook takes. Not sure if rook or king. Could make a case for both, but the king on f1 looks a little
Bit exposed, yeah.
right? So this position, what's going on here? If white is given time to play, let's say, knight d4, I think he has full compensation
Probably
for
has
the
full
exchange.
compensation, yeah.
The question could be if black can simplify
Queen
immediately.
takes a5.
Knight e6, takes,
Knight d4.
knight d4. Very concrete once
Well, you
again.
can't. Well, if you take, that's massive for white.
I don't know. Takes, rook
D5?
c8, d5 and g5. This is the question. I think you're on time. Because
Bishop g3, rook f8, rook d1, rook c6.
d8.
Yeah.
You pick up one of these guys. Rook d1,
Yeah.
take here.
Okay, let's shoot.
But you don't have to go d5.
You
You
can go rook
could
c1.
go rook c1. I'm not sure how to evaluate this one.
Bishop
g5, bishop g3, rook d8.
c4.
Not sure if you have to go rook c4. I was even curious about c7. But probably rook takes
No,
d4. Black is fine.
Rook c4 and
c4. King is approaching.
yeah.
Sendings, they can be lost for white quite deceptively. I always think you have these 2 passed pawns. It can't be too bad. But if the king gets into the game quickly, this can be trouble.
This is fine for white. You put your pawn on c7. That's the key.
Yeah, this pawn kind of holds back the
You
rooks.
put the pawn on
Still
c7.
Not so sure. c7, rook g5.
Yeah, but I think here you just cement a5. You play a4.
How does black ever...
Ah, yeah, this is a good move actually. Stopping rook b5 and stopping this.
Yeah,
King
just go
f7,
king
I'd say
f1.
king f1.
I don't think white
Yeah, I think
does
you're right.
lose
White
this.
is not in
With
big
the pawn
trouble
on
here.
c7,
Because this
it's-
bishop can't really be destabilized. If black goes to f5, you just put it on
Yeah,
e5. And yeah,
actually, it's
You're
white
right.
who's potentially doing well there.
this happened, but Vallejo
He
took with the king on f1. Which really, it looks a little loose, but then again, with your rook on f1, you're also tempted to put it back on c1. So here, you can always go king g1 back, and it's kind of the same deal. And this discourages the move knight e6, which now with the rook on c1 and the king on f1,
now
you
it's a
just
lot
can't do.
different, Yeah.
Because here takes,
You're-
knight d4.
You're 3 tempo
like
up, right?
4 tempi up
Yeah.
or whatever, compared to that line.
Yeah.
You can't do this. So that's probably the thinking behind it.
He's praying for knight e6, isn't
yeah,
he?
it's
Here?
not going to happen.
No.
And Anand, yes, to find a way here, rook c8 looks like a very natural move. Threatening queen b5, queen takes c6, just keeping an eye on
Knight
the c6
d4?
pawn. Yeah, knight d4, very likely. Then you have to slightly be concerned about this queen fishing for
That's a
play
bit
here
annoying.
on d2. It's kind of a move where you
Yeah.
want to play it just because it's annoying, right? You don't
Yeah,
know
yeah.
exactly what it does, but
What about knight e5 then instead of knight d4?
yeah, maybe that's a better idea. Then again, it's not a safe base like d4
No,
was.
d4 is really the...
Mm.
See, this is why I think this is a really interesting decision to take with the king, because, you know, if black didn't play knight e6, the king is so much safer on g1.
Yeah, but like I said, it's really... Rook takes f1, the rook is also misplaced, so you have to bring it back into action
I
quickly.
understand, but...
And after king takes f1, you can always go king g1 and you get the same kind of position.
yeah.
I don't know, it's very complicated. I think Anand is doing fine. He's also seriously ahead on the clock, I believe.
Yes.
So Paco, he's no stranger to time trouble, but it never helps in such a complicated position to be down on time. Rook e8, another move that's very possible. Let's say king goes back, now you go rook c8. Very, very complicated.
He played knight d4. Now we're going to see the problems with having your king on f1. Because Anand will play queen d2. He will.
Yeah, of course he will.
And now Paco needs to find
He's
only
going to hope
moves.
for rook c2, queen d1 checkmate. Probably not going to happen.
But okay, let's
Queen
just say he plays a
d2.
move like rook b1.
No, you have to play queen c4.
I understand, but rook b1 runs into knight d3. Queen d3, winning a...
Problem is the rook doesn't have a lot of squares after queen d2. You don't want to go to a1 because it's just sad, and also it runs into this nasty move, knight e6, when probably black is picking up at the very least the c6 pawn with a combination of knight takes d4 and queen
No,
c3.
it's all going... It's wrong. It's
Queen
all wrong.
d2. I
It's
think you have
all
to go
wrong.
queen c4. That's the question. And if knight d3 now, your life is hanging by a thread where you can't play knight b3. Thanks to this bishop covering f2. And this knight doing a pretty good job. So it's not over. After queen c4, Paco probably, he must have seen the move queen d2, and he's seen this in advance, that he can go queen c4. Very hard to evaluate this kind of position. So Anand must be doing all
I
right.
take black every day here.
I agree, but as
Every
long as
day.
this pawn is alive and this knight is not undermined, white is not
Problem
finished
is-
at all.
Yeah, but the problem is the knight can always be undermined via knight e6.
Yeah.
And with white, you're in time trouble. You've got to play basically only moves. You know, black plays rook f8, and suddenly you've got to make a good move here with white.
Yeah, I think you got to go for the ending. This
Okay,
queen is too
but-
annoying. You want to get rid of it.
You go for the ending, but this is...
Takes.
I'm not sure, you know.
What are you going to do?
Knight e6? Ah, knight
Yeah,
b5,
e6
knight b5,
always runs
knight
into
b5,
knight b5. No, I do agree that black is fine, but I don't think it's that straightforward. Probably you just want to bring your king, play f6, king f7. Very close.
Question from Juan Pitica. Lawrence, from your Grand Prix attack expertise, nothing to do with today's games.
Nothing to do with any high-level games, ever. Kidding.
Not quite true. There were a few Topalov, Kayak. Anyway, what is best for black? Go to lawrencetrent.com, buy the DVD, and there we go. All your woes will be answered and solved. There you go. lawrencetrent.com for more information. Queen d2 was played.
So now it's on Paco.
Queen c4 only move. I'm pretty sure Paco anticipated this scenario and he's gonna play that one quickly, because everything else is bad, really. Rook e1 runs into more unpleasantness. g5, knight d3.
I think rook e1's also a move he's considering. I don't think this is so obvious, this g5, knight d3 stuff.
That could very well be true after g5. Well, you also,
Yeah,
at least from afar, you're considering this, but the point of g5
oh my
is
god.
bishop has to be staying in touch
Knight
with the
d3
f2
is
pawn, and this is
beautiful.
just
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. Let's quickly look at Aronian Ponomariov while we keep an eye on this one.
Aronian's doing well.
Yeah.
Very, very well, actually. This has happened, rook fb1, rook takes. Material is equal, but the quality of the pieces is not. This knight rules the board, this pawn restrains a lot of black pieces by himself. Real big trouble. Yeah. I'm really expecting something like giving up this pawn. Here, as
knight
mentioned, knight c6 is strong as well. But I wouldn't be surprised if it came down to a position like that, which you still have to convert. There's not a lot of material left and plays only on one flank.
Rook takes e3 in this particular position such a crazy move?
I don't think it is. You're still in trouble, but you have some hopes of creating a fortress on the dark squares.
Well, you put your bishop on e5, your knight on d7, your knight back on f6.
I agree. It's very, very possible. I was blitzing out maybe queen takes b5 is not the most accurate. I think you want to play rook takes just to
do you know what I think?
this.
Do you know what I think? If you do this, I think knight c6 is just winning. I think
you
go
could
knight
be right.
c6
Just knight c6, and you're still winning a pawn.
Because you can never take on c6.
Yeah, because this is a different story. If you have to deal with this passer again,
and you win your pawn, you've got an active knight. No, knight c6 is correct. I'm sure of it.
And knight c6, yeah, black would have to move his queen, but
rook takes b5.
Yeah, no, it's a different story.
It's just game over. It's a matter of technique.
Maybe Ponomariov can't even reach that. But what else is he going to do? He doesn't really have any quiet moves available that improve his position. His pieces are just too bad.
Could just resign.
He's not going to resign. It's just so hard. Everything you want to do, like knight d7, knight c5, you don't have space for your pieces to get it in. That's the danger if you're giving up space in the opening and a lot of minor pieces remain on the board. You can really get cramped a little bit, and this is what happened here.
Yeah.
No, Ponomariov in deep, deep trouble. And let's see if Levon Aronian wins a game. He hasn't won a game for a while. He won in round 2 of the Sinquefield Cup, but then it didn't go well after that. I'm sure he could use a win to restore his confidence a little bit. Yesterday he had a very good position with black against Paco Vallejo, but it ended in a draw. Looks like he's on a good way today. Vallejo has played the only move, queen c4 against Arnott. He's in shape, so he's not collapsing.
No.
In trouble, but I'm with you. I think it's easier to play with black. Rook e8, your move. Let's see what happens. And this pawn is not.
I think rook e8 is a nice little improving move. Doesn't commit too much, and just ask White what he's doing.
Another move you can consider, but now it's less natural. Is g6 to stop knight f5.
He's not going to play.
Rook e8 looks like a bad move. I agree.
Yeah. What about in the European Club Cup? Are there any?
Let's jump back into this top match. Let's see if all the games are still running. What's going on there? Mr. Topalov against Morozevich. They keep delivering, but the position has, slightly quieted down after knight f6. Didn't go bishop f4. Went queen f3, probably. He wants to stop knight takes g4. He also wants to make use of the fact that after rook f8, you develop with tempo. Rook f7, I don't know, rook f1, rook e1. How's an ending like this? Rook f1, let's say I go knight e8. This ending is fine for black, right?
Yeah, you've only got one weakness to worry about, and the beauty of knights, you've got knight c7, b5 as well, so you put your king on e7.
I think it's... Only white can be better, but I think it's holdable. Or drawn. So you would probably have to keep a bit more.
But I don't like rook f1. Why are you playing rook f1? I don't understand.
Yeah, fair enough. You could consider...
Just go rook e1.
Rook e1.
Because there's no good discovered knight move. Everything's covered by the queen. Actually, this position is a bit...
it's unpleasant, with your king always trapped there.
Yeah.
I even think after queen f3, you probably don't want to go rook f8. I think you want to go queen g7 to stop this bishop h6
But then
action.
bishop d2, bishop c3, and
No, white is slightly better.
No,
There's
I
no
like
question about it. Knight d7,
Bishop
bishop
c3.
c3. Go here.
queen g3,
Yeah.
rook e1.
It is unpleasant.
It's really unpleasant, yeah. I think white's got good chances to get quite a serious advantage there. What about in the top game, Nepomniachtchi against Shaq? I'm going to do that every time now.
Doesn't make any sense. Flash and check there, they don't
They
sound
kinda
that much
sound
alike.
What's going on? As I said, I liked black before. I still like black. I think Shaq's played a good game.
g6, f6, queen c1 was played. Humble move, but probably needed to slightly slow down black's counterplay here. Now if black went for this queen e6 we've looked at earlier, with the queen on c1 you can always parry this d4 by going queen b2. Let's make some moves. d4, c takes d, knight takes b3, all of a sudden is a lot less strong because of queen b2. I think that's the point of queen c1, and Shaq readjusted, brought this knight back into the center. Knight c6, knight d2, bishop f5. It's not that concerned about white going bishop takes h5 because it's very slow, doesn't do all that much. And after bishop h5 I think black now takes the initiative with d4. Some problems. So knight f1 is the move Nepomniachtchi played. He's also a very resourceful, creative guy, Nepomniachtchi. He probably enjoys this attacking and defending at the same time. And this complicated position. This is what we got on the board. I like the move knight f1,
Good move,
knight
yeah.
g3, and opening the d file for the rook. You also have this little side threat of rook takes d5. Not sure if it's a real threat, but it's out there. Rook takes and bishop c4. Very messy position. I don't know which side I prefer and why.
I think, yeah.
I think you go queen e6 just to stop rook takes d5, knight g3,
Bishop
try
g4.
bishop g4, trying to keep those things together.
Very unclear.
Here f3.
Very unclear.
Mess.
How about a refill of our coffee mugs? What do you think, Jan? As
Let's
it's
check. Mine is cold, but it's still half empty.
Mine is-
That's how I see the world.
Mine is 3/4 empty and cold. We'll be back in a few minutes. Some really interesting games still going on, so don't go anywhere. Stay on the site, play some blitz. Click on the play now button. See you in a bit.
Gonna make my move, gonna live my dream. Gonna make my move, gonna live my dream. Every day, the future's getting closer. Every day, the future's looking bright. Every day is another beginning. Gonna make my move, gonna live my dream. Gonna make my move, gonna live my dream. Gonna make my move, gonna live my dream.
Hi guys, this is Grandmaster Gurumishvili here at Chess24. Today our topic will be the weakness of back rank. Let's start with the very famous example, the game of Adams against Tore. This is the great example showing why the back rank is important and how to use the weakness of it. I was very impressed with this game when I learned it when I was a kid, and I'd like to show it to you now. So we will quickly go through the opening phase. Knight c6, bishop b5, bishop d7, bishop c6, knight c3, knight f6, castle, bishop e7, and the first important move, knight d5. Taking control of the d5 square and acting knight d5 right now, because it is very important to have the pawn on d5. Bishop d5 and e d5. And now we see that white has a very big space advantage. Black still needs to castle, so castle and bishop g5. keeping an eye to the knight, which is the only piece which controls the d5 square and the pawn. c6, c4, cd5, cd5, and rook e8. So, a normal position, white develops with rook e1 and a5. So, rook e2, white aims to double the rooks on e-file, and rook c8. And here it is very strange to imagine that black at some point will have back rank problems, because there are so many pieces on back rank which controls it. Rook e1 and queen d7. Now, as the rooks are on e-file, white has a very beautiful combination connected with the queen dance. Bishop f6. What is the idea of bishop f6? Do white want to change the bishop to the knight and change all pieces? Of course not. The rooks are already on e-file, and now we will see how weak is the back rank. Bishop f6, and first step in queen dance, queen g4. Snatching the queen, because if queen g4, rook e8, rook e8, rook e8, and mate. But okay, black is not obliged to take this queen, and queen can go to this diagonal. Though there is only one square, which is b5 square. Queen b5. Another great move, very beautiful, queen c4. Threatening to win the queen again, because after queen c4 we see that the queen does not defend the rook on e8 anymore, so there is same idea, rook e8, rook e8, rook e8 mate, and also rook c4 is not possible because of the same rook e8, queen e8, and rook e8 mate. So, queen c4. Now queen again has only one square to go, and this is d7 to protect the e8 knight, e8 rook, sorry, which is very important. And what to do now? Again queen g4? Of course not. Again threatening the queen so that queen c7 is not possible because of the same ideas, and also rook c7 is not possible because of the mate on e8. But queen goes back to b5. And now what happens? What if white takes on b7, threatening to win the queen again, and on the way taking the pawn? This is a big mistake, because now we will see that white also has back rank problems if he's not careful. Queen e2. Black wins the rook, and rook e2 is not possible because of rook c1, rook e1, rook e1, knight e1, rook e1, and the one who is mated is not black, but instead is white. Hi guys, this is
Until recently, chess was like this. Chess24 brought you this. Live interactive broadcasts from top tournaments with computer analysis and video commentary by the likes of Jan Gustafsson, Lawrence Trent and Peter Svidler. A play zone where you can take on opponents from all around the world 24/7. Interactive beginners courses ensuring you pick up the basics fast while having fun. A tactics trainer to sharpen your chess by solving puzzles adapted to your level. Hundreds of interactive videos letting you watch and learn from star players such as Vichy Anand, Peter Svidler, Paco Vallejo and Hu Yifan. You've given up on that outdated computer? That's why there are more reasons to use Chess24 on mobiles and tablets. Full playzone access, including pre-move. A tactics trainer so you can stay sharp wherever you are. Computer opponents you can challenge even when you're not online. Live broadcasts of top chess events. And the half? It's free. Well, that's half true. Most features are free, but limited for registered members. For a mere €99 per year, however, you can step up to premium membership and gain unlimited access to our video library. That and much more. See you at chess24.com.
But maybe white has here a very important move. A4. What is the idea of A4? Now we see that the queen cannot go back to D7, but the queen can actually take the pawn on A4. What's the idea? Because B3, queen goes to B5, and he has no problems. But now, as the queen is on C file, which means that after some time rook E2 or rook exchange on E file is not possible because of queen C8, white has a brilliant idea with rook E4. So why rook E4? Why it's so brilliant? First of all, rook E4 is not possible because of queen C8 and mate. Second of all, queen E4 is also not possible just because white wins the queen and rook cannot take back the rook because it is hanging on C8 with mate after rook E8 and queen E8. But what if black goes queen B5 just as it happened in game? Now we see that A4 square is controlled and the queen cannot attack the rook on E2 anymore because it's on E4. So here we have the previous idea with queen B7. And now queen has nowhere to go. D7 square is controlled and queen on A4 is also not possible. So why not queen A4? Because rook A4, rook E1 and knight E1, rook is just defended. So here black resigned just because white wins the queen or black is mated. I hope you enjoyed this game very much, and now let's see another example. So here we have the game of Michal Chishin against Kasparov, and Kasparov is playing black pieces. But Mihalchisian has pieces on back rank, which means that the threat is queen f8. Rook e8 is not possible because of rook e8 mate, so Kasparov has to take care of the back rank. How to take care? Because the rook on f8 cannot be defended. So, queen c8. Is this a desperate sacrifice, or Kasparov has some trick? Of course, Kasparov has some trick because right now we see that the king is on h1, so after rook c8 there is a mate on b1, rook c1 and rook c1 mate, so white is obliged to take with the queen. But what happens? Rook c8 is not possible, and what to do? Is just white queen up? Of course not. Now the rook is overloaded defending the b1 square and the queen on c8. So Kasparov disturbs this rook on c1 with bishop d2. Which means, for example, king g1 is no good because of bishop c1, queen c1 and rook b8, and now we see that black gets the queen back and will have an extra rook. So bishop d2, and also if the queen goes, for example, then black just simply takes it with the same ideas. The rook also cannot leave the c-file because the queen on c8 is hanging, so white played here.